Hey everybody, welcome back to Bama Blind. I'm Beverly, and today I want to talk about something that I have mentioned in a previous video, and I said there'd be a follow-up, and it's about socialization and the ability to socialize and communicate a lot with nonverbals while you are blind or visually impaired. So we all know that lots of people communicate via nonverbals. That's a lot of information. And although they are sending messages, you can really, truly never be sure what that message means unless they actually say the words. So I'm just going to throw that out there right now. When I was in Speech Communication 101, nonverbal communication was not always recognized as a very effective form of communication, because somebody might send a message to you that you interpret one way, but they sent it another way, so the communication was miscommunicated. When you communicate verbally, there's much less opportunity for confusion to happen. But when you're blind or visually impaired, you can't pick up on those nonverbals. So I'm going to share with you just a few scenarios and a few ways that I have learned to move about socially and communicate when usually nonverbals are how people communicate. Since I am functionally blind, I can't communicate nonverbally. So I don't pick up any facial recognition or any facial cues, any emotional displays like smiles or furrowed brows like you're mad, or frowns, or I just don't pick up on any of that. All I can pick up is what comes out of your mouth and maybe some body language that I can hear or detect that's moving around, and that's all I get. But today I'm going to talk about how I have dealt with those things, because in a previous video, I think I suggested that I was quite confused, and I was. But I've really, over several months, given it thought, and not only thought, I've actually tested it out. So here's some of the things I've learned over the past excursions that I've had. The first one was an outing where I went to, and it was a celebration. It was an outdoor wedding. Of course, we were still in the middle of COVID, so everyone had to wear a mask and be seated kind of far apart from each other. So for someone that's visually impaired, that's already difficult. It's hard to hear what is said under a mask. You can't read eyebrow inflections or, smiles where people's eyes crinkle up so you know that underneath their mask they're smiling, or their verbal gestures like thumbs up, everything's okay, or go over there when they just wave to you over there and they just don't take the time to speak into their mask. So for me, I have felt that was very difficult over the past year. But I recently went to a wedding, which was an outdoor wedding, and I saw lots of people that I haven't seen in decades. So, they probably were going to have a hard time recognizing me, and I was certainly going to have a hard time recognizing them, and many of them haven't seen me in many years, so they didn't know how far my visual disability had progressed. Now, true enough, I had my guide dog Gretchen, so that's a little clue, but I can tell you there are some people out there that have no idea what a guide dog is. They think she's a pet. They think that I'm training her for some reason. They think she's a police dog. So, just given that preconceived notion, there are a lot of people out there that don't know that a guide dog means that you can't see. Fortunately for me, these people were close enough to me that they knew that I had a visual disability. And I had one person that self-assigned himself to escort me around this outdoor venue. So he was careful to explain, okay, we're coming up on some steps that go up into a gazebo. Okay, and we're gonna walk about 13 feet and we're gonna go down some steps out of the gazebo. And okay, let's sit down here in the buffet area, and you tell me what you like and I'll go fix your plate. And you know, I'm very non-descriptive, so I say, just get me anything you want to get me. You know, anything that looks accessible to you and looks delicious, I will like it on my plate. So I don't get very specific there, and that helps that person a lot. So I was assigned to this person, or he actually assigned himself to me and basically assisted me throughout the entire event when sight was needed. He quietly described what was going on during the wedding ceremony when it was quiet. He quietly described the setting of how people were seated and where they were facing. And for those of you that don't know, if you can't see and there's a portion of any kind of religious ceremony or any other ceremony, whether it's a national tribute, when someone stands up, a lot of times we don't know about it. So he gave me tactile cues on my shoulder when it was time to stand up or sit down. He also kept an eye on Gretchen, and I can keep my physical control of Gretchen, but this particular wedding had 2 dogs that were actually in the outdoor ceremony. And Gretchen, being affected by COVID, was not quite so sure what those dogs were all about. So the person that was assisting me said, the dogs will be now coming down the center aisle. So I knew then to shelter Gretchen's face to distract her from those dogs, because she at that point was not ready for socialization. So that was one way, and it just went off wonderfully. The people that had not seen me for decades approached me, told me who their names were, even though the last time I saw them, the last time I was with them, I could kind of see who they were, and I certainly knew their voices. But many decades have gone by. It was a family wedding, and several decades had gone by, and I hadn't seen these people. And I can tell you almost every single one identified themselves with their name. And in one case, I was sitting at a big round table. It was prior to serving of the meal, the awesome buffet. And a nephew, he's not really a nephew, he's a second cousin, but he's like a nephew, and he has a wife. And I had not met the wife, and I haven't seen my nephew in several, I'm going to say at least a decade. So I said, so who are you? Because he was sitting 6 feet away from me right across the round table. And he told me who he was. And I said, oh, okay. I said, your mom's here, your dad's here. And I said, is your wife here? I've not met her. And his wife was sitting right next to him. And he said, yes, here is my wife. And he introduced his wife. And it was just a great way, because I initiated it. I don't recognize you because of my eyes. Who are you? And he was so happy to say. Now, the other scenario that I have been through is I have sat across the table and didn't identify myself, and the person across the table didn't know that I couldn't see who they were, and so they just thought, well, she's just stuck somewhere, you know, either on herself or in La La Land somewhere. She's certainly not here at the wedding, and she's not wanting to visit with us. So I found that to be easy. I asked him who he was because I couldn't recognize his face because of my eyesight. And then I asked, is your wife here? And it was obvious then that I couldn't see because his wife was right next to him. And it was obvious that I wanted to meet his wife. So that was a great way for me to interact with those people. I also went to another huge celebration during the time that I was absent from YouTube. And I went to this huge celebration, and I was really having some angst about the fact that I've been to this celebration many, many years. We have it every single spring, and I see many of the same people. Sometimes they're new faces, but most of the people I have seen most of my life. I've grown up with them. I've become an adult with them. I've gone through childbearing years with them, and I know them. So I know these people, but that for whatever reason, they don't realize that, look, Beverly is now walking with a cane. Oh goodness, now she's walking with a guide dog. Whoa, she used to run around this yard and do back handsprings. So they don't correlate vision loss with my behaviors. So I found that the best way to do that, because I thought that would be obvious, and I wouldn't have to go into that. My bad. Okay, I have to go into that, and I have to explain to these people that I've known forever that I can't recognize your face. I can see shadows. So it's not like everything is black. Please don't think that my world is black. My world is very bright. But I can't distinguish fine facial features. So I'm going to ask you who you are, just so that I know, I make sure that I'm talking to the right person. And I did that for this event, and I also had another person at the event that said, I didn't realize your vision was as bad as it is because you walk around so naturally. And I said, yeah, so naturally with this guide dog, you know, and we laughed about it because you don't walk around naturally with blindisms if you are walking around naturally with a guide dog. So we talked about that for a little bit, and the next thing I know, I'm being passed off and actually navigating myself, because this was a big property, probably almost an acre big, and tables spread out all outside and everything. And so I'm walking from table to table with my guide dog Gretchen and actually exploring on my own, rather than what I've done in the previous years, which is be assigned to a chair and sit there. And I think I've talked about this on my videos before, the fact that it's so easy to just take a blind person and sit them down and expect them to stay there, because you don't expect, as a sighted person or the host, you don't expect that anyone that's lacking sight could possibly move around safely. And that's one thing that we really, as the visually impaired population, we have to keep reminding people that although we haven't had formal in-depth training, which is so rare, and that's going to be another topic that I approach, but it is so rare that you get enough orientation and mobility training as a blind person. But we can learn, and it can be done. You just have to venture out and figure out what's best for you and how you can do it. Now, I've had some orientation and mobility training with a cane, and I've had it with a guide dog. So I could move around this entire environment, you know, independently with my guide dog. And then when we got stuck, I would say, you know, Gretchen can't identify you guys, and I certainly can't see you. That's why I have her. So who's here in this group? And they would, you know, that's funny. They would laugh and tell me who's in the group. We would talk for a while, and then I might ask, okay, where can I find Jacob, my other cousin? Where can I find him? And the people in the group would look around and say, oh, okay. And I would say, can one of y'all lead me over to where Jacob is? You know, you can either do a follow or you can do sighted guide. This was awesome. This just worked out wonderfully. So that's another issue that I have found, a way to socialize when you cannot see. It's very difficult when someone places you in a chair and you feel that you're compelled to sit in that chair and stay stationary, because you might see 3 out of 30 people at a given gathering. Whereas if I'm up and about and walking independently, people don't realize how much I can't see until I explain, can you find Jacob? He's out here somewhere. And someone in the group will find him. Someone with 20/20 vision will find him 200 yards away. And then I can either say, well, can you just turn me around and direct me in that way? Or can you guide me over there and just leave me? And that way they know what's expected of them. They're not expected to keep me for the rest of the day. They haven't taken me home to raise. So that's nice. And then the final thing I will express is something that I just tried in the last few weeks, and that was dining out. And in this particular situation, it was a huge, huge restaurant, very, very loud. I can hear, but when you get into the loud acoustics, it's really hard if you can't see who's talking to actually hear what they're saying. So you can't really direct your attention because you can't quite hear where the noise is coming from. But anyway, my server came to the end of the table. My particular table, there was a big group of us, but my particular table had 3 people on one side and 3 people on the other and one at the end. So that left one end of the table for the server to stand. And I was at that end of the table. I wasn't further away from the server. So the server said, well, can I take your order? Well, in my previous life, I would wonder, well, who in the heck is she talking to? And I'm just going to slip down in my chair and not really, respond until somebody kicks me or says, oh, Beverly, she's talking to you. So I decided to take the initiative, and I turned my face to the server and I said, oh, are you starting with me? And she said, yes, I am. And I said, oh, okay. I said, I can't see your eye contact because I'm blind. I could look at you, but I can't see where your eyes are pointing. So if you'll just talk to me and my name is Beverly, then from now on, you will know the only person that has introduced themselves so far is Beverly, and that's my name. And if you are ready to take my order, I am ready to order. And she said, Beverly, I can look at you all day long and I'll take your order. And that was the coolest interaction. When she brought my food back, she said, Beverly, I'm putting your water in front of you. Beverly, I'm putting your delicious food in front of you. So that worked out awesome. And so many times, we as blind people will go out to dinner and we will get upset because the server doesn't know how to address us. And this lady had no idea how to address me. I might have been the only visually impaired person she had ever come in contact with. That's none of my business. But what is my business is to get service and to communicate efficiently and effectively with her. So I explained to her, I can't make eye contact, but you can call me Beverly if you want to get my attention. And it would be nice if you could tell me that when you're putting my food down or my drink down or whatever. If you need my attention, just call me Beverly and I will answer. So that's all I wanted to share with you about socialization and being blind and navigating a world of nonverbals. You can absolutely navigate it. You just have to experiment with techniques that work for you and work for the setting that you're in. Because the setting I was in at the restaurant is totally different from the very quiet setting of a solemn outdoor wedding. And that's very different than a big, laughing, guffawing family reunion where everybody is just making as much noise as possible. So I thought I would share that with you, and I hope you have gleaned something from this video. Once again, I am so glad that everybody is okay. If you're watching this video, I pray that you are okay. My positive thoughts are going out to you. And if you have any questions at all about how to navigate social situations, I am so willing to brainstorm. I don't have all the answers, but I'm learning to brainstorm. And like, once again, I say, my gift is to provide assistance, to provide that what you need if it's within my purview to provide. And I know a lot about sight loss. I experiment a lot, and I'm not ashamed to go out on a limb. If it doesn't work, I'm going to tell you, hey, that idea I had did not work. So I'm sharing it with you. It didn't work with me. It might work with you. So just let me know in the comments if you have any questions at all about socializing, having sight loss, recognizing people, making eye contact. How do you live in a world with nonverbals? I'll be happy to discuss any of that, or make another video if there are enough comments or questions that I didn't cover in this video. So hope you have a wonderful day and upcoming week wherever you are and whatever you're doing, and stay safe and stay happy. Thanks everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye.